Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing a bunch of college bowls right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Right now we're going to cover the Military Bowl presented by Northrop Grumman, Cincinnati, and Virginia Tech. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Peter. Don't forget, you gotta give a shout out to the sponsors.
Oh, of course, yes, absolutely. Oh, every sponsor of all these bowls, because without the sponsors, there would be no bowls, and that's why we give a very generous and enthusiastic plug for all the sponsors. Okay, before we get to that, though, let's give a plug for your website, OffshoreInsiders.com. You know, you've covered a ton of NFL games this year. You're covering like 2/3 of the bowls. Joe Duffy, tell us why you have so much confidence in your handicapping abilities.
Well, and by the way, there would be no small bowls, these minor bowls, without gamblers. I think everybody recognizes that. Right. And Joe Duffy's picks is at OffshoreInsiders.com. The reason I'll happily take all these games, I'm one of very few. I know there's probably over 100 people that try to sell picks, a couple hundred people that try to sell picks. There's very few of us who do it full-time, who are good enough to do it full-time, and even fewer who have been good enough to do it full-time for a quarter century. That's what I've been doing going back to the score phone days. 27 years of professional experience, OffshoreInsiders.com.
All right, sounds great. Cincinnati and Virginia Tech in the Military Bowl presented by Northrop Grumman. And the military, U.S. military, #1 in the history of the world, right? We fuck up countries, Joe Duffy, right? Why? Because of the military contractors, so the defense contractors who provide all the necessary things that we need to fuck up countries, protect our way of life, defend freedom, and Northrop Grumman, the 4th largest defense contractor in the world as of 2010. Pretty impressive, right, Joe Duffy?
Yeah, well, one of my best friends in the world used to work for Raytheon, but he no longer does, so you can talk about their competitors.
All right, we fucked up Iraq, and we'll fuck up another country very soon. Thank you very much, Northrop Grumman. Okay, Military Bowl, Cincinnati, Virginia Tech, right? Virginia Tech, a 3-point underdog. Totals 51, and you know, Cincinnati came on super strong at the end of the year. They really improved. They were kind of shaky dealing with injuries at the beginning. 6-0-1 against the spread in their last 7 games, and Virginia Tech kind of the opposite. They were kind of a bad bet down the stretch. 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games. A lot of that had to do with injuries. They were dealing with a lot of injuries, and you know, will they get healthier for this game? What condition will each team be in? I'm not exactly sure. Cincinnati's a 3-point favorite. What's your take on this bowl, Joe?
And Peter, once we're done all these bowl videos, we should do a political one together, and we'll talk about, you know, your commentary at the beginning of this. But that's for a couple weeks down the road. But now this is one where the knee-jerk reaction, and we've said it before, it is a myth, those people who say go with the hotter team entering the season in bowl games. Now, it's not to say that the polar opposite is true. In this case, I am going to go with the hotter team, Cincinnati, and I will say this. One of the exceptions, when a team actually enters a bowl on a 7-game winning streak, they're a slight go with. They hit it at about 53%, but nothing all that significant. But the Bearcats, keep in mind, when they lost, they lost in a tough stretch where they had Ohio State and Miami road games, and then they had that tough sandwich game on Memphis. And I can't remember every pick I made this year, but I'm pretty sure I had Memphis as a classic sandwich game. And if I didn't, there's no excuse. My clients should ask me why I didn't have that. So you can kind of understand how Cincinnati had that one very tough stretch where the schedule maker was certainly not kind to them. Meanwhile, Virginia Tech, their big win this year, of course, was to Ohio State, but remember that was Ohio State's first game without Braxton Miller, so they were in an adjustment period, and this is really the 3rd straight disappointing season. Also, you know, from what I've heard, that Cincinnati, they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They're kind of holding the mantle for that American Athletic Conference, which lost their status as one of the power conferences. So, you know, the conference itself has a chip on their shoulder. Cincinnati really feels they're carrying the mantle for the conference. They want to make a little bit of a statement. There's no real travel advantage. That, you know, each team, Cincinnati's traveling 427 miles, Virginia Tech 245. But all in all, you know, Virginia Tech, they're a team that's the 3rd straight season that's been disappointing for them. They just don't have the talent there anymore. But Cincinnati is a very good team. I think their record's a little deceptive because the schedule maker was unkind, the way they bunched a couple tough games together, and then that sandwich game in the middle, actually. And I really think Cincinnati is going to have a chip on their shoulder for the American Athletic Conference, or whatever the heck that conference is called. And Cincinnati wins this one comfortably. All
right, so you see a continuation of the ATS trends for both these teams at the end of the year. You know, a lot of times notice in bowl games, when you see strong trends like these, a lot of times you sort of expect the unexpected in bowl games, and trends trends like these reverse, you don't think that the rest will be a change of pace for Cincinnati and Virginia Tech and benefit Virginia Tech?
No, I've been preaching that for years. If you did nothing more than bet the colder team heading in, because as I've said, that the rest benefits teams that need to make adjustments. But and here, we're going to put that aside. And now I do think that Cincinnati, they really, not only are they a quality team, but motivation is a big part of these minor bowls in Cincinnati. You know, Virginia Tech, another disappointing year. Will they be motivated? I don't think so. Cincinnati carrying a chip on their shoulder because they don't think their conference is getting much respect. I think they will be plenty motivated. So, yeah, more times than not, you're right, but this would be the exception.
All right. That's why Joe Duffy is so good at what he does and why he's been doing this for such a long time. Cincinnati -3 is Joe Duffy's recommendation. Thanks so much, Joe.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.